street for a dozen years, as of this fall. Your last name is spelled how?
P-E-A-R-C.
Okay. In my family, we have Pierce, P-I-E-R-C.
The wrong way.
Yeah, it's the wrong way.
So we're not related. But I love that house, and I've heard all sorts of stories about Helen. And please come by and see the house sometime. You're always welcome. Oh my goodness, I can read it on the real thing.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Video ring.
Okay, so I'm very honored to be in this book. I don't go back 100 years, not quite, but it's really quite an honor to have a selection of writers from the UP over the last century and to be included in this. I lost my first wife a little more than 6 years ago. In fact, 6 years ago today, her ashes went into Lake Superior, where my mother's ashes are, and I look forward to joining them one day. I love that lake and I love this town. This is a story that I wrote not too long after losing her. It's fiction, but well, you can decide. It's called Possessions, and I put the S at the end in parentheses because when I was writing the story, I couldn't decide whether the title should be Possession or Possessions. So finally I just said it's Possessions with the parentheses. When your wife dies, you find music tastes different and food sounds the same. You don't walk, you creep. Some days you crawl, others best just to lie still. The closets are full of ghosts. Blouses she wore when she was 26, a denim skirt, killer dresses, shoes, heels, pumps, a pair of Capezio tap shoes, entombed in boxes. When you open the closet door, her coats hold still, suspecting they're goners. Threads of memory. She wore this one there, that one here, every garment a chapter. The clothes of the dead have no future. You could burn them. You could leave them be, decades of sartorial history, hanging from a pole, sagging with the weight of remembrance. You could cross-dress with a vengeance. Everything must go, not discarded, donated. To the woman's shelter, cartons and paper bags and piles of clothes, until the woman behind the counter says they're overstocked. You're tempted to take them all back. Who denies the donation of a dead woman's clothes? The rest to St. Vincent de Paul's, and there her cottons and linens and rayon blends are added to bins heaped with corduroy and polyester, but for one satin nightgown that will not be donated. Until the closets seem empty. Your clothes don't count. They aren't you, but neglected shirts, pants, and jackets. As summer wanes, you open a drawer and find sweaters, scarves, wool hats, gloves. Gear for a woman who understood winter. You send sweaters and shawls and silk scarves to the women and girls in her family. They respond with photographs of 10-year-old daughters wrapped in blue for the 5th grade's Colonial Day. Still, you are possessed by possessions. Even after you even after you dispossess yourself, they turn up in the kitchen drawers and cabinets where she kept jars of dry goods, beans and grains, future meals. And there, in the freezer, plastic containers, soups, tomato sauce, chili, nutritional messages from the afterlife. Hoard them, defrost only as a last resort. Yet through the winter, the freezer becomes as spacious and cold as your heart. By the time you open the last tub labeled black bean chili 3/14/10, food no longer has any meaning. It's no longer an act of love, a gesture of kindness. There's no intimacy in tuna salad or in marinating chicken thighs. It's embarrassing to recall how often you ate by candlelight. It's like the satin nightgown tucked away in a drawer you never opened. Instead, just heat and serve, just nuke it, just eat. Overcooked sustenance. When you eat dinner right out of the skillet or pot, the temptation is to glance over your shoulder in shame. No one is watching except the cookbooks. Shelves of cookbooks, back issues of Gourmet and Bon Appetit, and a 3-ring binder stuffed with recipes and culinary legacy handed down from grandmother to mother to daughter. Recipes written in her shorthand, scrolls and waves and loops, fetching across the page with an occasional word, a white cap of English. Instructions for future meals, for candlelight dinners, for guests. There are no recipes now, there are no guests. No need for the wedding china, the good tablecloth. Don't forget widower's rule number 1, never turn down a dinner invitation. You're the guest now, and after dinner you walk about the house speaking to the dark. Go ahead, come back and haunt me. Move the book on the table, slam the bedroom door, anything. I'm ready. Go ahead, I dare you. Scare me to death. I am ready. The reply is the deepest silence. Yet sometimes you feel her in the silence. Nothing moves, no hinges creak, no lights flicker. Just her silence. Fuck you, Steven Spielberg. Death has no special effects. There is no possession, just possessions. To break the silence, you play music. CDs in horizontal stacks, vertical rows of plastic jewel boxes, never properly alphabetized, as she so often suggested. Songs with melodies, lyrics, choruses, verses, movements, codas. Songs you can't live without. Songs you can't listen to ever again. Songs you know by heart, songs you want to forget, songs you can't forget. Songs for dinner, for reading, for dancing, for killing a bottle of wine, for making love. Songs to break the silence, songs against eternal darkness. But one day, maybe, you'll make a deal with the silence. You'll sit in her grandparents' chair, and it will only be a chair. Or you will give it away, all of it, everything. Everything except the stones. She was forever, or so it seemed, gathering beach stones. She'd returned from a beach with her coat pockets sagging, doing her best Virginia Woolf. Round stones, egg-shaped stones, disc-shaped stones, stones ground smooth by water and time. Stones from England, Scotland, Ireland, Italy, Turkey, Cape Cod. Stones stored in shoeboxes, in plastic bags, in bowls. Clusters of stones distributed about the house like incense. She liked the look of them, the feel of them, rattling in her palm. You could get rid of it all, but not the stones. You could walk on them, sleep on them, sit on them, eat off of them. Your house would be silent, filled with stones. You would have solitude. You would not be alone. You would have the stones. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good job.